Nah, Bill and Dion.
Hold on.
The Dolphins.
No, they didn't.
Oh, wow. They all picked them
They
out.
haven't picked yet.
They haven't picked. Why didn't they just show it?
Because
The game ain't starting.
Check.
You see what I'm saying? They lie, dude. They say it starts now, but it doesn't start till 8:30. They're fucking liars.
8 o'clock,
all
check
of them.
that. 8:25.
They're all liars.
Shut up. Check.
What's the deal, Pace?
I'm trying to stay above water, you know? Stay busy, stay working. I was telling me, like, the key to this joint, the key to stay on top of things is to treat everything like it's your first project, you know what I'm saying? Like it's your first day, like I was an intern. Like, that's how you try to treat things, like, just stay hungry.
What's going on, guys? And welcome back to the third episode of your mother's favorite podcast, Fourth and Goal. With me today, as usual, the kid, Chris Pace. What's up, Pace?
Hey, what's up?
We got Craig Alexander.
Yo.
We got Slade in the building.
That's my dude. We got a lot to talk about this week.
Without a doubt. And you know me, Clark Westfield. So, yeah, week 3. Very crazy week. After 2 straight weeks of a bunch of injuries to a lot of key players, especially key fantasy players, we really didn't see much injuries to those big name guys, but it was definitely a weird Sunday. How do you guys feel about
It was a
that?
relatively clean week, though, like you said, for the Stars.
Very,
Enjoyable.
very clean. I mean, you love to come out of a week without any injuries, but there was a lot of studs that weren't really doing anything. A lot of random guys just going off. People nobody would even pick up or even think of picking up, at least now they're thinking of it. But it's definitely a little odd. Interesting football week, but
Yeah, it sucked, man.
it was pretty crazy. I mean,
A
I
lot
got
of.
killed.
I mean,
My game of the week didn't go so good. Indianapolis, San Diego was only interesting for about 2 minutes, but we came out on top of the interesting part.
that's
so.
the second game that they predicted to be a huge shootout and wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, unlike the Falcons and Saints game, which everybody knew that was going to be a shootout, my bad.
Yeah, every time.
The Indy game, I really thought Phillip Rivers and Andrew Luck were going to duel it out. Fantasy owners would be real happy about those high totals, but I don't know about Phillip Rivers, but Andrew Luck put up a hot 17 after a 66-yard touchdown to end the game. So, I mean, he had 11 before, little over 11 before that, or under 11 before that. But it just wasn't there. The offenses looked okay against those suspect defenses.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
The Colts did get Vontae Davis back this week, though.
And Henry Anderson.
They both showed up big time for them.
Yeah, they did look good. And San Diego's defense is good.
not anymore.
But,
They're just flooded with injuries, the whole team.
Yeah, they're kind of like the Saints. They're not as bad as the Saints. Their defense isn't as bad as
The Saints are
but the
awful.
offense isn't as good as
The Saints are flat out awful. They're the worst defense I've ever
Everybody
seen.
not named Drew Brees is awful. Oh, and Mark Ingram.
Well,
Mark
Drew Brees
Ingram.
orchestrates that offense, but that is a terrible situation they have going on there. There's no way that they're going to be able to recover from 0-3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
Not with that division.
Not with the defense. Obviously, Drew Brees can go off at any moment because he's a proven star and he's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. But the rest of the supporting cast is not there for him. So,
Unfortunately.
no.
But even with those 2 high-scoring games, my game of the week, at least, not really. It was more of a one-sided game of the week. Philadelphia Eagles versus the Steelers, 34-3.
How about that?
That was my game of the week pick last week.
I couldn't believe
And
it.
Steelers didn't hold up really their end of the bargain, but
Yeah,
No,
very
Big
one-sided.
Ben owners were very disappointed this week with his hot 6.
But Ant Brown owners might not have minded. He had 12 catches.
Yeah.
Still got his
Still
100 yards.
8.
Antonio Brown
Oh,
always
my
eats his
Lord.
meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
It's ridiculous. That is a man that you could throw any random person out there, and he'll still put up like a 20. It's insane. Ant Brown is the truth.
Yeah.
But that's why people are picking him first,
Of course.
says Captain Obvious.
Volume. 12 catches. Come on.
But, like I said, crazy week. A lot of things turning people's worlds upside down.
no doubt.
But we still got to give these game balls out.
Hold up.
Hold up.
Hold up.
Before we do these game balls, which we're going to get to,
I forgot.
give me a brief minute. I say we do some shout outs for the social media. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
of
All
course.
right.
Let them know.
So, if you're listening to this right now, you're either hearing it live on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is just called Fourth and Goal, so go subscribe there. Every week we do this broadcast live, so you can watch it there, ask questions live, and we answer questions and do all that stuff. But subscribe there. You're going to see all our videos saved. Besides that, we are now on Stitcher, which is awesome. Download that Stitcher app. You can get it on your Apple device or your Android device. Same thing there, just Fourth and Goal. That's all you got to search for, the first one that comes up. Follow us there. Otherwise, SoundCloud, you can get us. And, of course, follow us on Twitter because we are tweeting constantly. Thank you, Bass.
Straight
The
comedy
social media
gold.
star.
And what's cool about the
Squad.
Twitter too is I guess they have some sort of good, connection with Stitcher or something, because the Stitcher will post the link up there and you can just listen to the broadcast straight through Twitter without even leaving the app at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's even better.
It's nice. I didn't know that either
No.
till earlier, but yeah, follow us there just so you can keep up with us. We're trying to get more fan interaction and get some questions sent in so we have, some more specific issues to talk about. But otherwise, thanks for listening, and let's get to these game balls.
And real quick, those questions are much appreciated. Even a little questions would help us out.
Yeah.
We want to help you. You want to hear certain content. We want to give you that content. So ask us those questions. I'm always on there. All four of us are going to be on there, ready to answer your questions. Since we do our podcasts on Thursdays, I'm thinking if you got Thursday questions, you might as well ask them on the Twitter. If
Or
it's
the live.
Or the live. You could do the live. Unfortunately, you really couldn't do it today. We're very sorry about those technical difficulties. But yeah, definitely give us the questions. We want to put out the stuff you guys want to hear, so let us know. But without further ado, can't believe I forgot all that stuff. That's some big news.
Yeah.
We got to give out these game balls.
Let's do
Who's
it.
going to break us off? First game ball.
I think I'm going to start this out this
All
week.
right, let's go.
My game ball of this week goes to that ballin' defense up there in Kansas City. They put up a 32 spot in fantasy, by far the highest of the week for defenses. A lot of people weren't starting them because they were racing that high scoring Jets offense, but they completely shut them down. 8 turnovers for the Chiefs defense, 6 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries. One of the fumble recoveries went for a touchdown, as well as one of the interceptions. And the fact that they outscored the opposing team with just their defense, that's all you need right there out of your starting fantasy defense. So if the Chiefs are available in your league, go out there and pick them up because they might be getting your game ball next week, too.
Ooh, they got the Steelers this week.
They're getting Justin Houston back
I
eventually.
picked them up, though. I'm starting them, actually.
Then
Chiefs
maybe don't play them this week. The Steelers. Although the Steelers only put up a 3 spot last week against the Eagles. So
Yeah.
Very true.
Eagles have better rush.
Better
defense.
rushers, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, look at
Definitely.
Fletcher Cox in his own right. He's probably one of the top 5 best rushing linemen in the league currently.
Right now, yeah.
So-
and Brandon Graham has been extremely good on the outside
Yeah,
of the defense.
I mean, the wide receivers weren't helping Roethlisberger either, but
no, outside of Brown, they were completely terrible.
yeah. So.
All right. Craig, who you giving your game ball to this week?
My game ball goes to a young man from Indianapolis. His name is T.Y. Hilton. And he gets the game ball purely because he sealed the game with a winning TD that was 66 yards long.
Such a clutch touchdown.
Check that. He's
Nice.
getting Craig's game ball because I was going to give T.Y. the game ball.
No, actually, I had already had my game ball picked out before you even came over, so...
Well, that was Craig's game ball,
You know
man.
I want T.Y., baby.
Yeah, sorry, you can't pick a Colt every
Everyone needs
week.
a game ball.
Go get T.Y.
There's no way T.Y. is available in your league. If he is, obviously get him, but that's...
I mean,
I give you a 0.5% chance of him being available.
check that 10%
No.
of copy.
Anyways, T.Y. Hilton finished with 174 yards and that touchdown. 2 touchdowns, actually, right?
Nah, just the one, I believe.
Oh, he only had the 20.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think Andrew Luck, that was
Yeah,
his
that's
only
right.
touchdown.
He just had the one
went to
touchdown.
T.Y.
So, I mean, that touchdown couldn't have come at a more clutch moment. So, maybe the Colts offense will start to hit on a stride after that play, but it remains to be seen. We'll see how well they fare after traveling to London this week. We get the early showing of that on Sunday, so we'll have a quick
That
answer.
offense has proved that it's still dangerous, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a lot
The defense
riding
stepped
on
up
that.
a lot last week, so.
Yeah, getting Vontae and Henry Anderson back.
They get a little healthier.
Yeah, they're finally, the core defense is kind of playing together. They got a few more injuries, but once they can come back, I'm not saying pick them up, but they could be a middling defense and maybe a spot start every now and then.
Yeah, absolutely.
But all right, Pace, who we going with the game ball?
Game ball this week, I am going with the number 1 rusher from the week, Devontae Freeman. He went for 152 yards on the ground on 14 carries, which is nasty, and 5 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. And he just gets my game ball. Finally, he breaks out. You know, been waiting for some double digits all season, so he finally got those. I mean, just looked like a boss on the field. He had a nice stiff arm play that was just disgusting.
That
He was
was
running
early
really
on.
hard.
And over 10 yards of carry, I mean, woo!
Yeah.
That's
So
ridiculous.
basically, he gets the game ball. I know last week in back-to-back we talked about Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman. I think Bass asked me who I would pick. And I said Freeman, and they both ended up, eating, basically. So they both worked out. But Devontae Freeman, game ball for me.
406 yards between the two against that
Gosh.
horrible Saints defense.
It still blows my mind that Coleman had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
all
that's-
he does is score touchdowns,
Jeez.
honestly. Tevin Coleman was supposed to do this last year. I picked him up. He does nothing. This year, I'm like, Tevin Coleman ain't nothing. I'm paying for it still.
Well, when you think about it, he broke his ribs. He was performing well last season, but he suffered that setback. And then the way that Devontae Freeman performed the next, 6 games made him the solid starter for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But now that Coleman's completely healed, they want to do running back by committee, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because it keeps fresh legs in the game at all times, especially if you have 2 talented runners like them.
Very true. Alright, that leaves me. And of course, I'm going to give my game ball to the soon-to-be number 1 wide receiver in fantasy on a bye week this week, Jordy Nelson. I'm telling you guys, watching that game, you can just see it. Him and Aaron Rodgers are back. That connection
They
is
really
as
are.
strong as ever. 6 catches for 101 yards and scored 2 touchdowns. Oh, wait, and that was all in the first half. They didn't throw the ball after that. They threw it 6 times, and Jordy Nelson still had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jordy's getting my game ball. He's probably getting my game ball for the rest of the year.
You
Because
can't do
this
that.
man,
That goes
it's
against the rules.
unbelievable. You see Jordy Nelson play, it's beautiful. And for fantasy, if Rodgers keeps looking at that way, especially if they keep struggling, he's going to keep looking to Jordy Nelson to carry that offense.
Aaron Rodgers had 204 pass yards. Jordy had about half of his yards. If that continues, he's going to be the number 1 receiver in fantasy.
I'm telling you. I very biased opinion. I think Jordy Nelson ends up, it's going to be him or Ant Brown, 1 and 2.
The
1A, 1B. I wish that could happen.
the Lions' defense is pretty depleted, so
Oh,
for
yeah.
him to go off like that, I don't know. I don't know if I still trust it.
I mean, he probably was on I didn't see who he was on, but Darius Slay's there. He's a good cornerback. After that, yes, I'll give you their garbage. Jordy Nelson's going to get moved around, but when you're Jordy Nelson, you have Eddie Lacy struggling and Randall Cobb struggling. He's going to pull a lot of looks. But enough about Jordy Nelson. I could go on for days about Jordy. I really could. So, we just gave out the game balls for great performances. But week 3 brought a not so good performance for Cam Newton. Cam Newton struggled. Now, I will say this. It was the Minnesota Vikings defense. Number 1 in the league, in fantasy leagues right now. They got 8 sacks on the man, picked him off 3 times. Everybody's going to have a bad game. But the MVP to have that bad of a game, are any of you guys worried about Cam in this offense right now?
Me personally, man, I'm not worried about Cam. He's versus Denver's defense and Minnesota's defense. We're both top 5 currently.
Yeah.
So the fact that those struggles against those defenses, they're pretty reasonable. He played well in the game against San Francisco. So I think with the division coming up and easier opponents coming, I think the MVP is going to be completely fine.
Mm. Well, not if anybody can take out Kelvin like that. Kelvin had 0 catches. Cam goes and says he's never going to let Kelvin Benjamin go catchless? in a
Catchless,
game.
without a catch.
Yeah. So,
Well, that's
I
exactly
mean,
what you want to hear out of Cam Newton right there.
Yeah.
He's going to feed his number one from now on.
very true. I'm not really worried about it. You guys worried? Anybody here?
In a fantasy respect, no. Maybe they're not going to be as dominant of a team as they were last year, but in terms of having Cam Newton on your fantasy team, I wouldn't get rid of him at all right now or trade him. I wouldn't worry in that regard.
Now, I'm not saying go out and... Don't get me wrong. Do not go out today after listening to this and go drop Cam Newton. You don't... I'm just asking, is he a guy that you can't start every year now? Last year, they went 15-1. Cam Newton rolled on teams. Every team. Didn't matter whose defense it was, how good of the defense. He killed it. But against those two defenses, and yes, it's probably 1 and 2 in the league right now in terms of defense, he really has looked pedestrian in both of those games. But I'm not worrying about it. I can't say the same for Kelvin Benjamin. I think a lot of people are going to start looking at him. He's really the only option they got behind Greg Olsen. I could see a lot of double coverages coming for him. Again, would not go out and trade Kelvin Benjamin. Wouldn't really even bench him. You're playing the Vikings. It's going to happen any given Sunday. But, anybody else got something to say about the Panthers?
I have a resounding no for the Cam Newton thing.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think anybody was going to say no. It's Cam Newton.
I don't need to say anything other than no.
Exactly.
That's my point.
Okay. Funny guy over here. But, let's switch sides. The Vikings defense, in the meanwhile, back-to-back
They're
weeks,
legit.
faced former MVPs in Aaron Rodgers and then Cam Newton, and has shut them down. Stopped those brilliant offenses in their tracks. And it got me thinking the other day.
What you
Are the
thinking, Ben?
Vikings... I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
Let's hear.
Are the Vikings as good as last year's Denver's defense? Arguably one of the best defenses of our time. Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib, TJ Ward, all those kind of guys. But the Vikings, they don't got the big names. But like I said, number one in fantasy defenses. They sacked Cam Newton 8 times, picked him off 3. Who would you guys take? I think this is a real interesting one. Who we going with, Slade?
It is a toss-up for sure, man. Both these defenses are incredible and really fun to watch. There's pros and cons to that situation, though. The Denver has the star power, you know what I mean? DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller coming off the edges, and they have the 2 brilliant corners outside with Chris Harris and Aqib Talib. But the Vikings, as a really young defense, man, they just play such great football together as a defense. They get out there and they punch every offense, like you said, even against MVP quarterbacks, in the mouth, man. They seem to get pressure on everyone. Their cornerbacks are always there to make a play. Safety's always there to make a tackle. With the sacks and turnovers that the Vikings are getting right now, they could be definitely up there in the conversation with the Denver Broncos of last year. And by the end of the year, maybe even considered better, in my opinion.
I mean, I'm going to also go with the Vikings. The Vikings defense, oh my God, it's been crazy to see. I didn't think the Vikings were this good. I knew they had a better defense with how they played last year, but they have absolutely, like you said, they've completely took in not only 2 former MVP quarterbacks, 2 great fantasy options.
Yes.
At quarterback in Aaron Rodgers and Cam Newton. They've took 2 of the top offenses in the league and completely shut them down. That offense was not helping them last game. Bradford did not have a good game. You expect that against Carolina. And that defense put up a safety, a punt return touchdown. They played better as a team. I'm going to go with them. Denver was good. Denver still is great. But just to toss it up, I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think they're going to end up being the better defense.
Just to be clear, you're asking if the 2015 Broncos defense was better than the 2016 Vikings?
No, I'm asking if the Vikings are better than that defense.
Currently.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The two defenses right now.
For right now.
But you said you did say 2015
Last year's,
Broncos.
who's going to end up? Who you think's going to end up as the better defense, fantasy wise? Any way you want to go. Who do you think's going to come up?
I think it has to be the Broncos then, if you're asking that.
Broncos.
Yeah.
I like it.
If you look at what they did last year, I'm pretty sure they were in double digits in probably 13 games.
Easy. That
At
defense
least.
was awesome.
And I know that they went off for 16 to 18 multiple times last season and had multiple return touchdowns and multiple fumble recoveries, sacks, interceptions. They held teams to like 13 points a game.
Yeah, I would just also say at least the Broncos are proven and have made it to the top level of the NFL in the Super Bowl. And yeah, they scored a lot of touchdowns last year. And how many touchdowns do they have this year? At least one. I know
They already
had
have
that
one.
pick six.
Yeah, I don't know if they
They have a
have.
fumble recovery and a touchdown both
Oh
against
yeah,
the
you're
Colts.
right. Yeah.
Sorry, Bass.
It's unfortunate.
So if we're making predictions, I would just have to go with the Broncos because it's only 3 games in. I mean, the Vikings look dominant, obviously, but
The potential of those kids up there in Minnesota right now are...
I wish I
Yeah,
had
it's a
them.
young core.
Did they get drafted in our league, Vikings defense?
They weren't
I'm not
drafted.
sure.
No,
I
they
picked
got
them
picked
up first
like week 1.
Got
I picked
picked
them
up?
up real quick. I
Okay.
knew, like
Yeah.
I said, I knew they were a good defense.
Yeah.
But I didn't think they were going to be first. After only 3 weeks, the stats are 21 the first week, 14 the second week,
Nice.
and 25 the next week.
Yeah, that's
The
crazy.
Panthers,
That
especially,
sounds
that's
exactly.
amazing.
Yeah, it sounds exactly how
Two
the
20-point
Broncos won
games is
last
pretty
year.
crazy.
If they can keep that up, the Vikings might go down as one of the best defenses we've seen in a while, if not in NFL history.
That I
This
can agree with.
defense is insane. And like I said, it's not big name players. They're doing it with younger players, guys you haven't really heard of, and they're just getting it done behind Mike Zimmer. Absolutely fantastic. So, that's 2 Broncos, 2 Vikings. They're both good defenses. You really can't go wrong with either of them. I'm glad I got the Vikings right now. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, congrats. You want to get to a Twitter question really quick?
Yeah, we got a Twitter question.
It's not that long of a subject. We'll just cover it. Because I was going to bring it up later anyway. But this is from Twitter at Griffin Ball. He says, at 4th and Goal Cast, what do I do about Russell Wilson not showing up this year? The man doesn't have time to throw the ball. So what you should do is, maybe bench him this week, Griffin Ball, because he's playing with a brace. He did come out and say that he, no matter what, is playing this week. The man's never missed a game and just missed his first ever career snap due to injury this past week. And he only really missed the one play, came back in, played a whole drive, and then did sit the half after that. But that injury is scary. I would say move him if you can for somebody good. Maybe pick up like a Matt Stafford or a Phillip Rivers off someone's bench. Make a trade in that regard if you can. I just am kind of nervous. Russell Wilson's a baller, but knee injuries are no joke, especially in the NFL and especially for a mobile quarterback. And not to mention, like you said here in the tweet, he has no time to throw. That offensive line is looking terrible.
Booty.
They have no real run game.
The run game is very weak as well. It's usually strong.
Yeah,
Which
so
helps Russ.
it really all signs pointing to not looking like a good quarterback to have in fantasy this year. But it is early, we'll see. But that injury's
If
scary.
you're
Bench
looking-
him this week, I'd say.
If you're looking for a quick streaming option, Griffin, Joe Flacco is available in nearly 80% of leagues this week. And he versus the Oakland Raiders secondary, who was allowed one of the most pass yards this entire season. So if you need a quarterback this week, I would go with him. Sorry for not getting the information sooner, but Andy Dalton tonight would have also been a good option. He's available in 40% of leagues as well.
Actually, a little surprising because he's got some weapons over there. When Tyler Eifert comes back, he's definitely going to go up in percentage.
And he had a very good year last year.
I'm going to tell you real quick. Hold that finger. Don't panic on Russell Wilson. He's been injured. That is the main thing. Yes, that offensive line is makeshift. They got a lot of guys that were former defensive tackles and tight ends playing offensive line 2 years after they get out of college for an NFL team. They're going to get beat. It's going to take a little bit of time for them to get used to playing. But at the same time, you have Russell Wilson. When he's healthy, he doesn't really need a line. He just creates plays. Technically a wizard in the backfield.
But with
I
that
don't even
knee,
like Russell Wilson, and I'm saying things about this. Do not panic
Yeah.
on Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is going to be fine. I would sit him for a little bit, make him prove to you that he's worth your time. Once he's healthy, he's going to put up the numbers with guys like Jimmy Graham, and Doug Baldwin is a beast. Don't panic.
Do you play Russell Wilson this week in New York against the Jets?
If you have a better
With
option,
that
I
D-line.
would sit Russell Wilson. Honestly, I don't. It's a bad matchup for him, and on the bad leg, I definitely
That
wouldn't.
Jets D line is ferocious.
That D-line with that
Yeah.
bad O-line, and he can't really get out of the
If
pocket.
the offensive
easy,
line
that's-
struggles, I wouldn't keep Russell on your bench for this week for sure.
That's risky biz.
Now,
Try to pick someone up if you have someone to drop on your bench.
Didn't you pick up Kirk Cousins this week against the Browns?
I did.
Yeah, that might. I
Could
bet
be.
he's available in some
Starting
leagues,
at
too.
quarterback against the Browns is always the option to go with.
Yeah.
hey, we're talking about sitting guys. Week 4 brings the first set of bye weeks. This week we're going to see the not the Cowboys, the Eagles and the Packers having a very early bye week. First off, I don't like those early bye weeks.
I hate it.
They're
Especially
tough.
in
They're so tough in
fantasy.
fantasy.
Well, the fantasy it's better. I like having the bye weeks get over with, but still, it's a pain in the butt to go find those guys to cover for you just for a game. It seems silly to go pick these guys up for a game,
Yeah.
but it's definitely something you got to do. Now, we're here to help you out. We're gonna give you a cure for them bye week blues. We've been looking all day and all night, been up constantly for hours researching this stuff. And we know you got some major positions to fill, and we're here to help you out. So guys, two soon-to-be major quarterbacks are out this week. One in Aaron Rodgers and the young gunslinger Carson Wentz.
How
Now,
about Wentz?
Aaron Rodgers is obviously going to be started more than Wentz, but I'm still going to throw Wentz in there. He's a good player, and he could be starting on a lot of teams. I wouldn't start him. I have Andrew Luck. I'm good.
I think he's
But-
so far. He's at least a streamable option for weeks to come.
I agree.
But not everybody's as lucky as me. So this week, guys, who are you going with the quarterback? I'll start us out. Let me look in this database right here. I'm actually going to give you a crazy one right now. Only owned in 22% of leagues. Not so crazy if you look at last week's stats. 4 touchdowns. But Trevor Siemian playing Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay should just say toast. Their whole secondary is completely toast. Trevor Siemian threw 4 touchdowns against the Bengals last week. Could be a really good streaming option, a young guy who's winning games, and it looks like he's finally starting to get a hold of that offense. When you got 2 guys like Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, it's kind of hard not to get them the ball. So if you got a guy like Rodgers or Wentz and you're really struggling to find that guy, only in 22% of leagues. Most people are going to be able to find Simeon. I'd give him a spot start this week.
I don't think I would.
Go ahead and give Simeon
I think there's
a start.
better options on the waiver right now.
There's
than Simeon, man.
definitely better options.
I mean, Buccaneers defense last week did give up passing touchdowns to Case Keenum.
Yeah, that's key.
So,
Major
I mean,
kid.
Simeon, I'm sure he's going to get his opportunities, but that's like the first time he's really balled out. I don't know if I'm going to start him and risk my whole week on a young guy like that. Like Matt just said a few minutes ago, Joe Flacco is still available in 80%. I think he's more of a secure play.
Definitely. Especially at home against the Raiders.
Yeah, Alex Smith maybe against Pittsburgh. Like, we're a little late on this one, but Andy Dalton playing in Miami, might go with him over Simeon. Not a bad play. I did consider it myself, but I think you might find someone better. But keep an eye on him.
If you're looking to pick on a not so good defense, Dak Prescott is available in 50% of leagues.
Yeah.
And he continues to improve every game, that kid. He's really impressed me so far as a rookie quarterback. I think that could be a potential big game if you go out and get him in free agency this week.
with that.
A little harder to find him, but I would give Dak a start. I mean, Des Bryant is going to be out. That's huge. Possibly out.
He hasn't even
They're
really
saying
been throwing
3
to Des,
weeks.
though. He's been effective with all the weapons they have.
Well, that
He's
run
looked
game,
good.
too. Ew. Ezekiel Elliott is a
Yeah,
boss.
he's finally starting to come
Oh
around.
my gosh. I loved watching that last game. He was killing it.
Yeah, it makes it
170
really-
yards on the ground.
Oh my gosh.
You got a running back
Dirty.
in front of those rookie quarterbacks. It makes their life 100 times easier. I like the Dak pick right there. I think Dak will have a pretty good game. Greg, you got anybody?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's on a contingent, though. The player actually has to play for you to be able to pick them up. But I would go with Jimmy Garoppolo, and the reason I would go with him is, well, I have two good reasons. The first one is his performance against Arizona's defense in the opening game of the season. And second reason...
Touchdown alert.
Touchdown.
Touchdown!
Kenny Stills.
Kenny Stills, my
Breaking
Hail Mary
news,
pick from
breaking
last
news.
week. Just caught, what was it, a 70-yard bomb?
Oh, my gosh.
I just dropped him, too. I thought about playing him.
74 yards.
74 yards. I'm sorry, Craig. Continue.
The other reason is he's thrown 5 touchdowns already in 2 games. So if you have LeGarrette Blount right now, who's leading the league in rushing, and he's a big body that wears down defenses, I think the matchup with Garoppolo and him against a favorable Bills defense that looked flimsy. I mean, they looked better last week against Carson Palmer, but Carson Palmer looked lost. So I think that you go with Garoppolo if he's playing.
I like that because Gronkowski is actually supposed to play this week, unlike the 3 plays he played last week,
Yeah.
getting everyone who played him a 0.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking for
Including
some.
yours truly.
And the evil genius Bill Belichick, he just finds ways to win. It doesn't matter who they have in at quarterback. Bill Belichick, I can't say I like him, but he does a fantastic job working with what he's got.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Bills looked good last week, though, their defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Carson Palmer was making horribly errant throws. I mean,
Yeah.
if you saw the replays of some of the tosses he was throwing, he was just chucking the ball down the field. The defender would have had the receiver's position on the ball. That's why it was just a terrible game for Carson, who ended up throwing 4 interceptions with no touchdowns, only 287 yards, and putting up a 3 for a quarterback in fantasy football. That's one of the worst things I've ever seen, next to Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing 6 interceptions.
Yeah. Nah, that Fitzpatrick game was crazy. And I mean, one more real quick before we move on to running backs. Slade talked about him earlier. Joe Flacco going up against Oakland's defense. I mean, they got Khalil Mack, but apparently nobody can keep up on the Oakland secondary, and they're going up against 2 of the more faster receivers in Brashard Perriman this week and Mike Wallace. Both can take the top off. I think Joe Flacco might have a good game. If he cleans up those picks, he's could be a nice spot start this week. I like him. But to the running backs, there's actually a decent amount. We got Eddie Lacy's not going to play this week. Darren Sproles, Ryan Matthews didn't really play last week, but he's definitely not playing this week. And running back is still a pretty crucial position to have. Yes, well, Sproles is on a bye.
Yeah, you said he barely played last week, though.
No, Matthews.
Okay.
Sproles played. Sproles killed it.
Yeah, that's what I was
But
going to say.
enough of that. Guys, if you need to go get a running back, I'll start us off. I'm going to go with a little riskier of a pick, especially since there's a guy in front of him. But Travis Cadet for the New Orleans Saints, that man is going to get a lot of looks, especially against that San Diego defense. Yes, Mark Ingram's in front of him. Yes, Mark Ingram went off for a 20 last week. Yes, Mark Ingram is going to get every carry that he possibly can. But that third down, those third down plays, Cadet is dangerous. They line him up at the 5th receiver out of the backfield. The guy can just catch, especially if you're in the PPR leagues. He's only owned in 25% of leagues. Cadet could be someone to look at this week.
Definitely, he looked good on Monday night.
Oh, beautiful. So, we're going to go with Slade. Who you got?
A running back pickup for me this week, with Rashad Jennings out and after the Vereen ACL injury to end his season, I'm looking at Orleans Darkwa for the New York Giants.
I like that.
You know what I mean? Eddie Lacy's on a bye this week. Ryan Matthews, Sproles, like you said. If you need to pick up a guy in free agency, why not a starting running back for a team like the Giants who at least wants to try to set a tone running the ball? So I think the kick could be nice. He's going to get the bulk of the carries this week. There's no running back to compete with besides a rookie named Paul Perkins. So I think Orleans Darkwa for the New York Giants could potentially be a a solid pickup for anyone needing a running back this week.
Yeah, I mean, Darkwa, he's going to have to step up, especially with Vereen's out for most of the year. Rashad Jennings definitely missing this game. I don't know exactly how long he's out for, but that's a decent offense. It's a very bad matchup
It's
this
a terrible
week,
matchup against the
unfortunately.
Vikings.
But if Rashad Jennings is out, it could be a good pickup this week and for the rest of the year, possibly. Darkwa might impress enough, just like Freeman did. Freeman wasn't starting last year. All of a sudden goes off, and he's now the starting back. Another guy in there I'll add on real quick, Bobby Rainey. He's going to be their third down back. He could be worth a start. He's only owned in 0.4% of leagues, so it's a real reach, but he's definitely somebody you should keep an eye on. Maybe not this week against Minnesota, but you keep an eye on him. Keep him on your watch list.
I got a quick one. Detroit Lions are playing the Chicago Bears this week. And I'm going to say, if you need someone just for the bye week here, maybe try Dwayne Washington.
I like that.
Theo Riddick didn't really run the ball too well last week. He did have some receiving stats and did get more looks on the field than Dwayne did. But I think with that lack of production from the actual run game, especially between the tackles from Theo last week, I would say Dwayne Washington will probably get more rushing attempts. Maybe if they get by the goal line, they'll try to pound him in. Sorry, Craig.
Yeah.
I might have pulled the robbery.
Someone stole my pick.
I might have pulled the
Wow,
robbery.
this is
Next
why we
week-
discussed things before this happened. So you still tried to do me dirty. That's reckless talk.
Enjoy
Actually,
base this week.
I
You might
knew
not be here.
I knew you wrote him down, so I just did that on purpose.
So
Actually,
yeah, I think you just did it subconsciously.
All right.
Actually.
Gotta keep you
if
on
I
your
have to be
toes.
honest,
Keep
that's
going.
just your real
Yeah,
personality.
back on
It's just
track.
coming into
back
fruition.
back on track.
all right. Well, to get back on track,
Back.
Dwayne Washington only if you need him for the week. I think, like I said, he's going to get the rushing looks because Theo could not get it done last week, and he looked good. I mean, last week he did run for 10 attempts, 38 yards, so the average is looking not bad. Check him out. He's only owned in about 29% of leagues as of the recording of this, so you should still be able to pick him up.
Yeah, definitely interesting.
I'm picking up Jordan Howard.
Jordan
Obviously,
Howard. He was-
Jeremy Langford's down, so you need a replacement for him because I'm sure majority of people drafted Langford. So you need the replacement for him, and Howard's looked like a better running back. He looks more elusive. He shakes tackles. So I think he's going to be the running back. You know he's going to be the running back for at least the 4 to 6 weeks coming up next. So he has a decent amount of time to prove himself. Even that O-line is a little shaky, but I still have faith that he'll be able to do something. He's shown flashes. So I think that would be my pickup.
Yeah, a lot of people picked him up this week too, but I can't believe it, man. Coming into the year, it was all about this Kadeem Carey guy, man, and they were real big on him. He didn't really do much in the first game, got hurt in the first game, but he's somebody you got to watch out for. He could definitely steal a couple, especially if Jordan Howard, being a rookie that he is, slips up a little bit. Kadeem Carey could be right there. Then again, I'm pretty sure Kadeem Carey is a rookie anyway. So, but definitely look out for those guys. All right, guys, we're gonna keep on moving. We got wide receivers. Now this is a big group. Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb. In deeper leagues, Devontae Adams caught a touchdown. Then you go over to the Eagles side, Jordan Matthews. Maybe you're giving Nelson Aguilar a look. There's a lot of guys out right now. Wide receiver is huge, especially in those PPR leagues. Who you guys got?
This week, for receiver-wise, I'm looking to the Washington Redskins, and not the guy everyone probably thinks I'm going to say, Pierre Garçon. I'm talking about Jamison Crowder, the slot receiver. He's seen at least 7 targets in every game. He has 2 touchdowns on the season, and he averages over double digits in PPR leagues.
Yeah.
I mean, Kirk Cousins doesn't necessarily go downfield very often in that Redskins offense, so him hitting his quick little slot receiver, Jamison Crowder, it's kind of his safety blanket right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think if you can go out there and get Jameson Crowder, who's available in 60% of leagues currently. That's going to be a big pickup for you this week.
Yeah.
With quite a few receivers, as you said, on bye.
Oh, yeah.
And a few
Crowder's
injuries
looked
to
nice.
receivers as well, like Des Bryant.
Yeah, especially he's looked very good, and he's outperforming the guy you just said, Pierre Garçon. There's a lot of mouths to feed over there. Apparently, he is one of the top mouths to feed, though. Who we going with, Craig? Who you got? Receiver.
Receiver, I have Michael Floyd.
Michael Floyd.
Michael Floyd, he has shown that he can perform well. He's caught multiple touchdowns before. So far this season, he has in his 3 games a 7.5, a 7, and then an 8. But he has been seeing more volume recently, so I think that against the Los Angeles Rams, the Cardinals just have too many wide receiver weapons for them to handle. And I think that Michael Floyd is going to be the person to benefit off of that the most. So I would look towards his production this weekend in a good matchup with the Rams.
Good choice. Very good choice. Who you got, Pace? Need a receiver. Cure my bye-week blues.
This week, let's see what we got here.
Unprepared. Like I said, enjoy Pace while you can. He might not be here next week.
We're making cuts.
Just kidding. He's
We're making cuts.
keeping
for sure.
Pace on the podcast. That's a major key.
All right, I'll recommend a guy here who's 57% owned in the league, and that is Michael Thomas of the Saints. Drew Brees looked at him heavily last week, threw to him a lot.
The Snead out, he was one of his favorite targets.
Yeah, and he actually had some nice catches. His hands are pretty good. I saw him reach out for a few balls that looked nice. He had a drop or two maybe, but with that many attempts, that kind of is expected. You're not going to catch everyone. But yeah, like I said, if only 57% owned, you probably have a shot at picking him up just for the week. He'll definitely get you some sort of production.
It's a high-flying Saints offense, for sure.
Yeah, he's not as much of like a boomer bust as a guy like Cooks is on the Saints, where, you know, he's either going to go off for a huge touchdown or maybe nothing. Whereas Cooks is going to get, whereas Thomas is going to get those looks, make those catches all throughout the game, maybe a touchdown. So
He has a solid floor.
Definitely.
yeah.
Yes.
I picked him up. He did nice without Willie Snead there. Might have gained a little bit of Drew Brees' trust. He looked awesome at Ohio State. Very talented receiver. He's a bigger dude. I like that one. I gave him a look. Not going to start him this week, but I'll stash him on the bench. Let's see how he goes.
Smart.
I can't believe nobody actually said this, man. Des Bryant's hurt. Go pick up Cole Beasley. Dak's favorite receiver. Go pick him up. Owned in 33.3% of leagues. Is pretty reasonable. The man, he doesn't get touchdowns, but he puts up catches. Especially in PPR, this guy is somebody to own. Last 3 weeks at 10
believe that was
and
Craig's Hail
9.5
Mary last
and
week.
at 10
It
and a half.
was.
That was a smart Hail Mary, that's why.
I'm glad you thought so, Bass.
Des might play. It's leaning more towards with the fracture in his knee. He's not going to play this week. And, I mean, even so, Cole Beasley has 25 targets compared to Des Bryant's 23.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. Dak is looking for Cole Beasley a lot, and the touchdowns are going to come. So if you need a receiver, go pick that man up. Especially for these next 3 weeks. He is going to be, if not the number 1 target, the number 2 target. Mike is stolen by Witten.
I agree.
All right, tight ends. We haven't seen Ertz. He's going to be out. Brent Selleck's been playing pretty well, along with Trey Burton. Might be starting them in a little deeper leagues. And Jared Cook Jr., a lot of people have him, thought he was going to go off with Rodgers this year.
Still got a high ahead for Jared.
Yeah, I mean, I'd give him a look. Not available, but I'd give him the look. But who are you going to put in at tight end? I mean, there's a good matchup right here. We talked about him early. Hunter Henry. Antonio Gates, more than likely, is not going to play right now. That hamstring is a lot more serious than they thought it was. Hunter Henry would have had a 9.5 in our league had Clayton Gaithers not popped the ball out at the end. He gets the looks. Drew Brees trusts him. And against that Saints defense, he's going to eat. Hunter Henry, that's a big pickup right now. The man is only owned in 23% of the leagues. As long as Gates is on, you got to stash him on your bench, if not start him every week.
Yeah, you stole my thunder there, Bass.
Sorry, I had to go with the easy one.
Well, that's only fair. You did it to me.
Yeah, Hunter Henry's been on my radar this week for sure, especially with the buys. I'm not going to get into it too much more, but...
Bass had to cut in.
What's up, Bass? Oh, you had to cut in?
Had to
You
cut in.
sleaze. There's always one per week. But yeah, I mean, just throw some more numbers at you, I guess. Hunter Henry ran the second most routes for the Chargers last week. He was 4th in targets and 2nd in yardage. So they're definitely looking his way. He had 5 catches for 72 yards, no touchdowns. I think you'll see more of that this week, especially if it's just for a buy. For 1 week, like Bass said, he's only 23% owned. So I'm sure you can go grab him right now. I would start him. I don't need to. I have a couple other guys on my roster, but if you're shallow at tight end and need someone for the bye week, Hunter Henry is the one to get. That's for sure.
I don't know, man. I'll take your Hunter Henry. And I'll raise you a Cameron Brate. Not a lot of people know who that is.
Who?
Austin Seferian-Jenkins was cut by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week.
Yeah.
True.
Insert Cameron Brate as Jameis Winston starting tight end. Man comes through with 5 catches for 46 yards and 2 touchdowns. Let's go. This week he's got a tough matchup against Denver, but those outside corners, man, they're going to take away Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans. So I'm thinking middle of the field, Tyler Brate. Maybe that's where Jameis Winston does a lot of his damage, and the kid could have a big game for you. He's available, like I said, in 93% of leagues, only 7 owned, and currently he's the 7th ranked tight end in fantasy, solely off of 1 game. The tight end position is barren this year.
Yeah.
So if you're desperate, maybe you didn't draft one of those top 4, top 5 guys, Cameron Brate could be a top 10 guy for you going down to the rest of the season. With the young kid like Jameis.
Somebody's got to catch the ball. They're definitely going to look at Mike Evans to shut down, and they can do it with T.J. Ward and Aqib Talib. And Cameron Brate and Jameis Winston, they're eating. Their connection looks great. I would give them a look. The Denver's defense is a little scary, but yeah, somebody's got to catch the ball. Who we going with, Craig? Who you got?
For tight ends, I was going to go with... Who was I going to go with? I had it just a second ago. Oh my gosh. My mind, it's old.
Oh,
It's old these days.
Like I said, tight ends.
Oh yeah,
Craig,
Zach
it's tough to
Miller,
think
of
it.
course.
Oh my gosh, how
Zach
could you
Miller.
forget?
I shouldn't have been able to forget after that performance. Zach Miller going off for 2 touchdowns. He's just picking up where he left off last season.
He might be the bear down right now.
Yeah, he's absolutely the bear to own. If you have him or Alshon Jeffrey, then those are the only 2 bears that you could convince me are reasonable enough to own.
Breaking news. AJ Green with a touchdown in fantasy. All you fantasy owners out there.
He's already got 3 catches.
Well, he just had that 50-yard catch a few minutes ago, so he must be double digits by now, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you expect any less?
No,
No, I
just
don't.
that I should have drafted him.
Nice way to start a football week, huh, fellas?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Thursday night
it's
football is
great.
always a nice way to start the week.
All right.
But yeah, Zach Miller would be my go-to tight end for the week. He's definitely available in probably everyone's league.
He's
So-
another guy that could be your starting tight end going forward.
Yeah,
based on
absolutely.
the volume that he's going to see.
Especially when Cutler comes back, because he's an even better passer. I mean, he's nothing great, but he's a better passer than Brian Hoyer. So
Definitely.
I think you should definitely pick him up. He'll get you at least 7 or 8 points. That's pretty good for a tight end these days. If he gets you any more, then that's just a bonus.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, you could also go look. He's not a starter, but he's a guy who's been getting a lot of looks. Only owned in 12% of leagues. Jack Doyle playing Jacksonville in that beautiful London game at 9:30 in the morning. Jack Doyle, he gets looks from Andrew Luck. They run a lot of 2
Bass.
tight end sets with Dante Moncrief out, but
That's a reach
might
right
be
there,
someone
Jack
to
Doyle.
look for. Now,
I hate to
that
tell you,
brings
Bass,
me
but
into
that's not
the-
going to happen.
That brings me into that. Brings me into the next
A
one.
backup,
Sorry,
a
Bass.
backup tight end, Bass?
If you needed defense this week, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go with the Jags versus the Colts. Colts offense, that's pretty good. They're going to put up points, but another thing they're going to do is turn the ball over. We've seen the last couple weeks against the Broncos, you're going to throw the pick 6, the fumble 6. Almost same song and dance last week with Andrew Luck throwing a pick against the Chargers and fumbling again.
For 6 again.
Jacksonville really hasn't looked that great. They are underperforming for the talent they got in the
Offensively.
offseason. Even the defense, they're letting it up.
Nah, the defense
But
isn't bad.
against Indy, they're not the worst. It's not the worst start. It's not gonna. It's a boom or bust pick. They're gonna pick Andrew off a lot, or Andrew Luck's gonna murder him. I think it's a little better chance of it being kind of a low-scoring game, surprisingly. But if you need somebody, you're desperate, go with that Jags defense. Only owned in 6.9% of leagues. You can definitely find the Jags defense.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Anybody else? Not many great matchups for defense.
Well, I wouldn't tell you to pick up the Rams, but I know that they're available in about 70% of leagues.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
with defenses, it's so easy to go in there and find nothing.
you just have to play matchups.
Everybody's
these days.
got a defense. There's the certain set of defense. You got the top tiers, and then you got everything else that will randomly give you anywhere from 0 to probably 6 or 7.
I think the Giants' defense this week, they're at Minnesota. I know it's a tough matchup on paper, but I think the Giants' defense could play well in the game. There's not much going on for that Minnesota offense outside of Stephon Diggs.
They only have 800 yards.
Very
And
true.
even last week, he didn't look the same as the previous week against the
In
Packers.
3 games.
I just think the Giants' defense, they spent a whole hell of a lot of money on that defense in the offseason. That they could come out and maybe, not saying they're going to upset Minnesota, but they could put in some work and maybe as a streaming defense could be good. But another defense I want to talk about, they're on bye this week, but if the Philadelphia Eagles are available in your league, you go out and get them. The second-ranked D, double digits every week so far. And Sproulsy hasn't even taken back a punt return yet for us. So if they're in your league going forward, pick them up. I don't care who you have as your defense. They are going to be a defense you can use in your rotation the entire season. So go out there and pick up Philly's D. Still available in a lot of leagues.
Yeah. Philadelphia's D, I tried to pick them up. I got the Vikings. It doesn't hurt that bad. There's a silver lining. And real quick, let's get this one done. We got kickers. Mason Crosby, he's a big owned guy. Caleb Sturgis, I don't know. Caleb Sturgis is an okay. Guys, I do not know why everybody... only 44% owned. He's the number 1 kicker with 11 field goals in 3 games. Dustin Hopkins, he hasn't missed. It doesn't matter if your kicker's on a bye. The Washington Redskins offense, what I love about them is they're good enough. And the key word is enough. Dustin Hopkins, they're going to get up the field. They're going to give Dustin Hopkins the chance to kick it. He so far has not missed. He's showing up. Go pick him up. He's going to get a lot of looks this week. I'm going with Dustin Hopkins. Went up to 48.8. Awesome. Anybody else got a kicker this week? I can spew out another one.
Kickers?
Yeah, kicker. Come on, Mason Crosby. You gotta find somebody for Crosby.
Mason Crosby. I think you go with Josh Brown.
Josh Brown.
Mainly because of the matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. The fact that defense is so good at getting to the quarterback and forcing turnovers. I think it's going to be a lot of field goals for the Giants. Probably he'll get you probably 3, maybe 4 more
Definitely.
field goals. So I think he's a good pickup.
He's been one of the most consistent kickers going back the last few years as well.
Yeah,
Josh
absolutely.
Brown. Kicker I'm going with this week is Cairo Santos for the Chiefs. He's available in 63% of leagues somehow. The kid gets over 10 points a game as a kicker. I don't know how you leave that out in free agency. He's currently the 4th ranked kicker out there. So to go along with Hopkins being the first and being available in so many leagues, I think you go out there and get KC's kicker, especially this week against the Steelers. I don't see that Chiefs offense punching it in a lot. They'll probably be settling for field goals frequently.
Real quick, go pick up Greg the Leg, Zerline.
Rams kicker.
Rams kicker. He's ranked 20th right now, but only owned in 1% of leagues. But we're playing Arizona this week, and we probably won't score too many touchdowns, so you can expect a lot of field goals. And he's kind of been on a roll. Week 2 he had a 10, week 3 he had a 9, so it looks like he'll get you something. And that was against Seattle D and Tampa D, so a couple good defenses there. If you need him for the week, go grab him. He'll get you points.
And if you're not confident in any of the guys we said, always pick up the guy who's playing New Orleans Saints. And today, that lucky man is Josh Lambo, the 10th ranked kicker right now. In a good San Diego offense. They're playing a very bad Saints defense. And he's available in 82% of leagues. Go get him. He's going to put up points. The San Diego Chargers are going to put up points. He's worth a look. Might even be worth a look for the rest of the year. Josh Lambo.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on the kid.
True.
But you know what? It wraps up your bye weeks. Hopefully we help you find somebody. It's tough. You're going to get through it. Don't you worry. You're smart. But you know what? What I didn't like about that last segment, I don't think we gave the backs enough love this week.
No.
I don't
We
think
might
so.
not have.
Should we?
Should we do it?
Should we do it?
Why wouldn't we?
I think I'm going to do it.
You should do it.
Do
I
it
think
then.
I'm going back to back.
I like it, man.
The
Let's do it.
only segment where you guys should start sending us your questions so we can let you know who's the back to start this week. For me, the running back, almost every single week, unless you have that stud, you're constantly thinking about who to start at that second position. The running backs are always pretty close together once you get off those top tiers of guys. My back-to-back is actually coming from our Twitter, and it's actually from the same guy who gave us the Russell Wilson question. At Griffin Ball asks, who should he start this week? Ezekiel Elliott playing the San Francisco 49ers or Carlos Hyde playing the Cowboys? Now, after a huge week last week against Seattle nonetheless, I'm going to go with Carlos Hyde.
Interesting.
If you can put up 2 touchdowns and 24 fantasy points on the Seattle Seahawks, what are you going to do to the Cowboys?
Even though it was mostly garbage time in the fourth quarter?
I mean, Chip Kelly's offense is pretty good. Once people figure it out, it won't be good anymore. But garbage time still
Their offense is terrible.
There ain't
What are
no
you
garbage
talking
time
about?
in fantasy.
Their offense is terrible. They have Blaine Gabbert as their quarterback. How could you say that
Yeah.
their offense is anything that's good?
But that means Carlos Hyde is literally the only person going to eat.
Yeah, but guess what?
Zeke
When
is
he
good.
doesn't get a first down, the ball goes away.
Zeke is good. I'm going to go with, after that huge performance against the Seattle Seahawks, Carlos Hyde.
All right, dude. Well, I'm going to have to go against you on that one and say that you definitely want to go with Ezekiel Elliott. Carlos Hyde against the Carolina Panthers put up a 3.5. He had 14 carries for a whopping 34 yards. He performed terribly. 3 catches for 18 yards.
Carolina's got a
No
tough
touchdowns.
front,
Well, yeah, but my point is Seattle has a tough run defense too, and they held Carlos Hyde to like 4 points before the fourth quarter. So
Yeah, but who did you just say? Carolina. That's Carolina. This is the
there's no difference.
Cowgirls.
The Seahawks have been good, have the best defense for the last 3 or
I
4
know, and he
seasons.
punched 2 in against them.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the fourth quarter, it was garbage time,
But
strictly
you're going-
garbage time.
Go-
I'm not
there
going
is
for
no-
garbage time. I'm going Ezekiel
Everybody.
Elliott, who is a
Let's get this.
way
Okay,
better
garbage
player.
time
There's
scores
no-
fantasy points.
There's
Yo.
no garbage
And
time in
if
fantasy.
Hyde
Everything
is
is
in it,
perfectly
I
legal.
love it, baby.
Shut your
Wow.
mouth.
Ezekiel is definitely going to score more points than Carlos Hyde. You can put it on my name.
I'm starting out
Oh,
Carlos
my.
Hyde this week, but in my fantasy league. But I'm going to agree with Craig that if I had Ezekiel Elliott, I would definitely be playing him over Hyde. I mean, Zeke, when he was struggling during the first 2 games, was still a top 10 fantasy back during that time with his touchdowns. And now the fact that he might start ripping off these big games, I mean, most people spend a first-round pick on this kid, Ezekiel Elliott. So
Very true.
with the way he's looking right now, I'm starting him every week over pretty much any running back going forward. Although Hyde has been a nice surprise for a lot of fantasy owners early in the season.
And them Cowboys linemen are dropping like flies.
They are. Tyron
Leao.
Smith
Leao.
and Lyle out this week.
It's going to be tough sledding behind those guys.
They got
That's
to
why
replace
I'm
the
going
entire
Carlos.
left side of the line.
Face.
Zeke off the right tackle every play.
You guys are forgetting
Who you
about
siding
Blaine
with?
Gabbert is the quarterback for the San Francisco
means he'll
49ers.
Which means
Nice.
Hyde is going to get volume.
No, he's not. It means that when they go down, he's screwed because then they're going to try to force Blaine Gabbert to throw the ball, and he's an awful Quarterback.
But you're talking about the most stubborn head coach of all time who, if he thinks he can run on you, he will continue to run on you.
I don't know about
and
that.
continue to run on you.
I mean, like you saw, they ran the ball well into the fourth quarter, even though they were down close to 30.
That was just by the goal line.
I got Schmidt on. I don't want to hear it. All right, Pace. Who
Great
you
question
going
now.
with? No, we got one more. Who you going with?
I'm going with Elliott.
Oh.
I love him, man. He looks amazing. And last week, he had 140 rushing yards. That's filthy.
170 rush yards.
No, I'm pretty sure it's 140, man.
Yeah.
170, that would be ridiculous. I don't think it was that high. Check that, though.
I'll check
Yeah,
that.
check that.
We're going to check that, and we'll get back to you.
Hold on. Check that.
Check that.
Ezekiel Elliott, 30 carries, 140 yards. My apologies, Pace.
Okay, I'm glad we checked that.
Sorry
Against
about
Chicago. Chicago's depleted. That defense is horrible.
You guys
Now
got-
he plays San Fran, who also looks depleted, so...
Yeah, you guys covered it all, but I'll just side with the Elliott train here. That man's a beast.
Don't do it.
Nothing against Hyde.
Yeah.
Elliott just
Listen,
over
I'm
him.
starting Carlos Hyde too, but I would take Ezekiel Elliott any day.
Dallas is also a favorable matchup. Their run defense hasn't been anything special this season, so...
You really can't go wrong with
You could
either of
expect
these
both
guys.
games, big games from both of the running backs, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. All right. Slade, who's your back-to-back this week? We going back-to-back.
Back-to-back for me this week, man. I'm going with the injury replacements. That's Cameron Artis-Payne for the Carolina Panthers at Atlanta this week, who's a run-of-the-mill run defense as well, versus Jerick McKinnon at home against the Giants. Giants have been a little bit better against the run. The Falcons struggled even last week defending the Saints' run offense, which isn't a very strong one. But in this week's back-to-back, I'm feeling Jonathan Stewart's replacement, not Adrian Peterson's. I'm going with Cameron Artis-Payne. It's a division matchup. I think and also in Cam's hometown, I think the Panthers are going to want to set the tone heavy with a strong run game. And I just think Cameron Artis-Payne is going to be between a tackle back, the first down, second down back, with Fozzie Whitaker coming in on third down. But I think if you're looking for a goal line touchdown out of a spot starter this week, Cameron Artis-Payne is your guy to go to. I don't see Minnesota moving the ball very well, even against the not-so-strong Giants defense this year. So, yeah, I'm going to go with my man Cameron Artis-Payne for the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cameron Artis-Payne, too. The Carolina Panthers team runs the ball. Any back in that system is going to get the ball a lot. And with Cam Newton back there in those read options, people are going to be looking at Cam. They're not going to be worrying about Artis-Payne. He's a guy you could potentially start for 4 weeks, too, with, Jared McKinnon, he's got a fight with Asiata. But while Jonathan Stewart's out, it's looking like it's going to be Artis-Payne all day. Who you guys going with?
I'll go with Artis-Payne. Sounds good to me.
All right. Great.
Yeah, Artis-Payne is definitely the more appealing, just because of the way that the Panthers are set up. They're going to get a lot more red zone opportunities. So, more red zone opportunities, that's where you get your most points. So, definitely go with Artis-Payne.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, Artis-Payne all
for
around.
Artis-Payne.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
sir.
I just
Available in a ton of leagues, people. Go out and pick up Artis-Payne, especially if you're a Jonathan Stewart owner.
Yeah, I'll go next for my back-to-back. Opposite situation of Slade. Mine, two running backs here that I'm going against each other. Both have their starting running backs ahead of them coming back this week. So I'm going with Spencer Ware versus D'Angelo Williams.
That's
Okay,
interesting.
nice.
So
They
in
play
this,
each other in the game as well.
yeah, they're playing against each other. In this little, I guess, debate here, I'm just going to assume that Jamal's playing this week, even though I know he might not. But I think it makes it more interesting if you assume he'll be back, and you assume, or Bell's back. So it's kind of like guys that were starters now going back to the backup role, but you still probably have those guys on your team and maybe want to get points from them. I think I would go Spencer Ware, though. The Steelers usually don't incorporate too much of their backup running backs in their game. Whoever's the main guy usually just gets a lot of the touches. I think Bell, it's a different situation. He's healthy, he's back, he's ready to go, apparently, according to Mike Tomlin in that Steelers camp. Whereas Jamal Charles, they're not 100% ready, or not ready. They're not 100% confident that he's, going to play. They haven't come out with a solid yes, he's going to be there. Andy Reid is doing his usual, there's a chance he'll play routine.
Oh, Reid always says that. Yeah, it seems like they seem to be taking their time with
Yeah,
Jamal Charles.
and I don't blame them. And let's say he does play. Again, it's off a major injury. They're probably still going to try to use Ware as much as they can, especially if he's being productive. So if you have either of those guys, D'Angelo might not be a terrible start because he is the bigger body, and maybe they get down to the goal line, they throw him in there. But I would go Spencer Ware on that one. I just think, if Jamal doesn't play, obviously he's a must start. If you have him.
For sure.
And if Jamal does play, I could
Very
still
good.
see an argument to start him still. I mean, just because they might not feed Jamal as much his first week back.
And I think going forward, Spencer Ware will be their goal line back.
Yeah.
Even when Jamal Charles comes back, he's a huge body. He's one of the biggest running backs in the NFL. And the Chiefs tend to get down to that 5 to 10 yard line range, and they don't ever want to put the ball in the air. So
Yeah.
if you can get that big goal line back, he could still get you maybe 6 to 10 per week, even if Jamal's back up.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a great player.
Yeah, I'm going Ware too. I mean, when Le'Veon comes back, you saw it last year. The yards almost like. Sorry. D'Angelo Williams gets almost a third less. He gets the same amount of plays as Le'Veon. Especially because they run them out of the, they run a lot of two-back sets, but the snap count, not the snap count, the carries is what goes down with Le'Veon almost tripling the amount of carries for D'Angelo Williams. Spencer Ware has proven that he's going to get work in that Kansas City offense. I'm going with Spencer Ware.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going Ware all the way.
Yeah. Spencer Ware is undeniable.
So, guys, does this mean that D'Angelo is now droppable in fantasy?
No.
No.
Yeah,
You
Le'Veon
never
goes
know
down.
what's going to happen with Bell. And maybe they'll try to use him for touchdowns, but not yet. I don't know. What do you think?
Should be patient with D'Angelo. I don't know. I'd probably, if I'm a Bell holder, I'm going to continue to hold on to D'Angelo. But if I'm not, based on what you said about the Steelers' number one running back tends to get the full share of the carries. They don't tend to ever put in the backup, especially with a guy like Bell. So maybe going forward, if you are not a Bell owner, you could potentially get rid of D'Angelo or maybe try to trade him to the Bell owner for a nice receiver, tight end, or defense on the bench.
Yeah. All right, Craig. Last one. Back to back. Who you going?
Well, my running back was mentioned earlier, Dwayne Washington. I think that you got to bounce between the two running backs that they have in Detroit, and that's Washington and Theo Riddick. Mm-hmm. Theo Riddick is the PPR guy that you want to have, obviously, but Washington has shown that he can be a solid runner in between the tackles, and that's something that Theo Riddick simply cannot do. I mean, he's proven it. They've tried to feed him the ball, but he just can't perform that way. Last week, he had 10 rushes for 9 yards, just to show you. But Washington had 10 rushes for 38 yards. It's not amazing, but he also had a week where he had only 4 rushes for 31 yards. So it shows that he has potential, and I think that the Lions' offense has been excellent ever since like the last 8 games of last season into this season. So Matthew Stafford's playing great. They can move the ball. He's definitely the goal line back. So the question is, do you want the goal line back or do you want the receiving back? In Jim Bob Cooter's offense, it's kind of hard to pick between both of them because of that dilemma of them being down in the red zone constantly, but also at the same time, Stafford always being back in shotgun and throwing the ball, and he loves to dump it off to Theo and just let him work with the open field. I think it's a really difficult one, but this week against the Bears, I think you'd have to go with Theo Riddick still.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Theo Riddick as well. Especially in those PPR leagues, it's huge to have a guy like Riddick. He gets a lot of looks. The Lions are going to be passing the ball. I go Theo Riddick for now.
I think this week, with the matchup against the Bears, I'm going to go with Dwayne Washington. I think the Lions are going to blow the Bears out. The Bears haven't looked very strong on offense so far, and they've another replacement on offense with the new running back, and Jay Cutler still isn't back. I mean, I just think the Lions are going to be up early and use the bigger back to end the game. Maybe he gets a few rushing touchdowns as well. Yeah, I'm going to go Dwayne Washington this week.
I can definitely see that.
Pace. You got the last say. Who you going with?
Yep. I'm going with Dwayne. I talked about him earlier, so I'm not going to delve too much into that, but I'll go with Dwayne on this one. I think they'll be trying to run him between the tackles more this week because, like I said, Theo wasn't really getting it done. They'll leave Theo for, like Craig just kind of said, the shotgun, dump-offs, let him run, when he's got some open field in front of him. And they'll let Dwayne run up the middle. And if they get to goal line, you could see him punch it in. I'm going Dwayne.
No, I would stay away from that. It's just way too hard to see who's going to really dominate that backfield. Theo Riddick is getting a lot of catches, but like you said, it's the more dominant runner is Dwayne Washington. And the question isn't who do you want, it's who do the Lions want. So that wraps it up for back-to-back. And now, let's toss it up. We going with the Hail Marys. Who wants to start us off? Who you tossing it up to? Who's your Hail Mary?
I'll go first just because mine's a quick one. We talked about this player earlier, but I'm still going to just talk about him because he is my official Hail Mary pick. I will note that last week my Hail Mary pick, Kenny Stills, did go off for 10 points in our half-point PPR, and currently playing the Cincinnati Bengals right now, he has a 13.5, so he's looking to be a good Hail Mary, and I'm going to follow that up this week with Hunter Henry, tight end for the Chargers. He is a Hail Mary. He's owned in less than 25% of leagues, 23.1 to be exact. But he's going to eat cake this week. Antonio Gates is still out, so I think you'll see... what's his stinking name? You'll see Phillip Rivers tossing him the rock a lot. He'll be getting his touches. Last week he had 5 catches for 72 yards. If he can just find the end zone this week, he's going to be a solid tight end run for sure. Or tight end start for sure.
Yeah.
What you guys got?
Definitely interesting. I like Hunter Henry in this game. I can't say it enough. That Saints defense is trash. Me, I'm
Who was your Hail Mary last week? Did that work out?
Last week? Nelson Aguilar did nothing.
Oh, yeah.
A 34-3 blowout, and the man cannot do anything.
Ooh.
I let you down. This week, I'm not letting you down. Now, it's a little riskier pick. I love to keep it risky. But I'm going to go with my Hail Mary is Ted Ginn Jr.
Oh, that's certainly a Hail Mary. Almost literally two.
Every week.
Look, teams are going to start focusing on Kelvin. He had 0 catches last year. Mm-hmm. And the more teams focus on him, it's going to open up for these other guys. Ted Ginn Jr. last year, picked him up. I even started him a couple games. He's a complete boom or bust player, but when he booms, he explodes. I'm going to give it to Ted Ginn Jr. Lower teens owned in most leagues, so you're going to find Ted Ginn Jr. Keep an eye out for him. He can only, as long as Kelvin keeps going like this, there's going to be open looks for them other receivers, and if you give him a look, he definitely can score you some points. Craig, who are we going with?
I'm going to go with a Washington receiver, a guy that's earned 6 or 7 receptions in all 3 games. It hasn't really produced all that well with those receptions and targets. His name is Pierre Garçon.
Pierre.
I think part of his problem and slow start to the season, though, was Kirk Cousins, who was struggling the first few weeks. He didn't look as shaky on Sunday, and because of that, I think that you can trust some of the Washington receivers a little more. I think Pierre Garçon, if you need flex help this week, could be a solid pickup against the soft Cleveland defense. You just saw what Terrell Pryor did to them solely on his own. So
What didn't Terrell
I think that's a
Pryor
good
do?
pickup.
I don't think he played any defense.
Yeah,
Or maybe he did.
He played safety.
He played
In that game?
He
Yeah.
ran the ball. He
You're
caught the ball.
joking.
He threw
He played
the ball.
safety, quarterback, wide
Oh my
receiver, and
God.
running back.
He played safety in that game?
Yes.
Kid's a killer.
What? Was it a Hail Mary or something? I
I'm
missed
not
that.
sure. They didn't play that game.
That's
But
absurd.
he absolutely any
His
guy who
acceleration
can do
was
that.
freaky.
I mean, I don't know how that's going to affect him in fantasy. Yes, it's a lot of volume, but yes, over the course of time, that is a lot of work. But Terrell Pryor, murderer. Another guy a lot of people picked up this year, especially with the news coming out. We tweeted it out earlier. Josh Gordon's checking himself into a in-house rehabilitation center.
What?
Right?
That's
You didn't hear
breaking
that?
news for me.
No,
Same, I didn't hear that.
5 o'clock.
He's likely to not play.
If you haven't heard, yes, he might not
Stone's
play
whole
this
career.
season, man.
My whole
And
career.
it's huge.
Wait. Say it from the beginning. What exactly came out with
Josh
the news?
He
Gordon-
entered rehab. He
yeah.
re-entered rehab. He said
1 week away from reinstatement. He said
at a time now.
he's going to enroll himself in an in-house rehabilitation center.
Let me just go to
1
my
week.
team and I'll give you the exact.
Yeah. Can you
news.
read something official from that? I had no idea. That's pretty
I
crazy.
also had no idea, but it
He was
does not
drafted
surprise
in-
me in the
All right,
slightest.
guys.
It doesn't surprise me, but he was drafted in like every league. Everyone thought he'd be back finally. What's it say?
All right. Gordon, who remains suspended by the NFL through Week 4 for violations of the league's substance abuse policies, released a statement Thursday relaying his decision to enter in patient rehabilitation facility. ESPN.com reports, after careful thought and deep consideration, I've decided that I need to step away from pursuing my return to the Browns and my football career to enter an inpatient rehabilitation facility, Gordon said in the statement. So he'll probably likely not be back for any of the teams that
Oh my
you guys have this year.
Wow, that is devastating.
I thought more
That's
people would have
terrible.
heard that. That's big news right there. It did come out
This was
pretty
breaking
late.
around 6:30 this
Man.
this afternoon.
It
That's
come out
awful.
pretty late. But yeah, Terrell Pryor.
The Browns get no luck, man. Johnny Manziel, now this. That's terrible.
Robert Griffin third.
Oh, everything. Everything Cleveland touch dies. Sorry, Cleveland.
Everything
sorry, Cleveland. Except the Cavaliers. You got that.
Yeah.
Hold on, believe.
All right, who's up next?
Oh, for hell.
Hail Mary. Who's
Hail
next?
Mary.
That was.
We had Ted Ginn so far.
We had Ted
And we
Ginn,
had Pierre
Pierre
Garcon.
Pierre Hall,
And
Hunter Henry.
Hunter Henry. So Slade.
Slade, who you got? Wrap this up.
This week, my Hail Mary, let me start about last week. Last week, I gave you guys Kenyon Drake as a Hail Mary.
Smart.
He led the team in carries, got the start for the Dolphins. The numbers weren't necessarily there. I started him in desperation last week in one of my leagues. I believe he got me a 7 in a half PPR league. Could have been better, could have been worse. Sadly, Jay Ajay punched in the 1-yard rushing touchdown late in the game to look better in the stat sheet than my young man. But I'm not going to worry about last week. And also last week, I'm sorry about that. Last week we also gave you a Cowboys receiver, Cole Beasley. He actually ended up doing quite well, especially in PPR leagues. He had 7 catches for around 70 yards. And going forward, Dak seems to trust this guy. But I want to talk about Cole Beasley this week.
Who you wanna
Because this is
talk
a Hail Mary. I want to go deep. With Des Bryant out, I'm slinging the ball deep to Terrence Williams in fantasy. He takes over the Des Bryant route tree in the offense. He's going to be going downfield as Dak's number 1 receiver. He is owned in 8% of fantasy leagues. 92% available, people. Go out and pick this guy up if you're in a pinch this week. The Cowboys are playing the Niners, so I think with the favorable matchup in his hand as well, Terrence Williams could be a big-time pickup for you this week.
I like that.
Especially until Des Bryant comes back on
Yeah,
board.
I could see him catching a touchdown this week for sure, man. They need a deep threat. I mean, the run game is there. Cole Beasley's on those short routes. They got to threat the deep ball some. Terrence Williams will be going deep often. Hopefully, Dak can find him or look for him and make a connection there. That should pay off 8%. Yeah,
Could
that's
be a
pickup.
steal if you need to stream a flex this week.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of injuries.
Good pick. We do have to wrap this up soon. Bass, anything else you want to hop in here? We probably have like a couple more minutes, like 10 minutes tops. So if there's anything else you want to bring up,
real quick, you guys want to wrap it up with the game of the week?
that's a good idea.
Yeah, of course.
Let's just keep it to like a minute or two
real
each,
quick.
though.
I don't even need to talk about it. Don't worry. Don't you worry.
Okay, man.
Because this week, let's start off first. We did get it. When I asked about this game tonight, I was speculating maybe we could be seeing the game of the week this week. Not so fast, my friend. Our boy Derek Bowden comes in the clutch, giving us the game of the week for our Twitter followers. They're going to go with San Diego versus New Orleans.
Interesting.
Should be a shootout. I know I went with San Diego and Indianapolis, but Indianapolis defense actually looks pretty good. No chance the Saints look as good. That's a good one. I'm gonna side with Derek.
No, that's
Go with,
a great call.
Saints. Yeah, can't go wrong there.
I think every game the Saints playing this year is a shot to be a shootout. So.
Yeah, realistically. They won
Yeah.
a game yet?
Who?
The Saints?
No.
They have not, and they're a top 5 scoring offense currently.
Sad.
Yeah, I looking down the schedule, that has to be my game of the week
Yeah.
too. I hate to repeat, but it has to be.
I mean,
That's
hey,
weak sauce.
I know, but I actually think the Saints will probably go into San Diego and get the win, man. I think they're due. I think they're going to want to win. I think Drew Brees will come out looking hot because he kind of blew the game a little bit last week. 2 late picks in that game kind of, prevented their comeback. So I don't want to get too much in predicting winners and losers of the game, but you can certainly see some high-scoring fantasy players on both sides of the ball there. Brennan Cooks hopefully goes back off like he did in Week 1. We got Cody Fleener, and then we got Michael Thomas. Do you guys know if Snead's playing this week? I know he's questionable. Is he? What's up?
We won't know until
Yeah.
Friday or Saturday,
probably
probably.
going to be a game time decision.
Yeah, so there's some Saints players there for you, and then of course Phillip Rivers and Travis Benjamin and the guys over in San Diego. So that's going to be a high-scoring game with my prediction. Any receiver, running back you can get from either of those squads, I say start them this week for sure. Game of the week.
Greg, who you got?
My game of the week, I got Kansas City versus Pittsburgh.
Wait?
Yeah.
Let's hear this one.
Well, it just makes sense if you think about the Pittsburgh offense. They're finally going to get Le'Veon Bell back. So, Le'Veon Bell has already proven that he's ready to go. I mean, I've seen 100 videos of his workouts and his play. So, I know he's pretty much fully 100%. And I'm sure he's dying to get back on the field. So if you add that in with Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger, that's a recipe for trouble. That's a lot of points right there in itself in the fantasy world, usually weekly, with those 3 being in the top 5 almost every week. Then you also have Kansas City, who has Jeremy Maclin, Travis Kelce, and Spencer Ware, who are also huge fantasy producers. So I think if you combine both of those, that could easily be the game of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I actually do like that one. The Chiefs find a way to score, even with Jamal Charles out and with Le'Veon back. That offense is dangerous. I know they only put up 3 against the Eagles last week. The 6 picks against Fitzpatrick kind of worries me, but you're not going to get 6 picks off of Big Ben. I like that game of the week.
Thanks.
Slade, you going to switch it up?
I'm picking a very interesting game of the week this week. I am going to go with Tennessee-Houston. This game is so under the radar right now, man. I think this has a shot to be a shootout. Neither defense is very good right now. Houston just lost J.J. Watt for potentially the season.
Yeah.
Tennessee just simply isn't very good. The offenses, though, on the other side of the ball, have been pretty decent. Lamar Miller's running great for Houston right now, 4th in the league in rushing yards. Nuke Hopkins is a stud. He's going to put up numbers continually against the top corners every week. It doesn't matter. He's one of the top 5 wideouts in the NFL right now. He's so impressive. On Tennessee's side, DeMarco Murray has been playing out of his mind, reminding you of the 2014 DeMarco Murray, really, with the Titans so far. He's been running his ass off. Derrick Henry, as the backup running back, has also looked pretty effective as well. So I think Tennessee's running game is going to be good, and I see this as a bounce-back game for Mariota.
Yeah.
Houston just lost their best player. They're probably going to be hurting a little bit. Mariota as a dual-threat quarterback who typically doesn't turn the ball over. I think he's going to get the ball out quick to his wide receivers. Kendall Wright's coming back this week. Tajay Sharp, another young good receiver. Delaney Walker is one of the top tight end options you can have in fantasy right now. I could see that game being a lot higher scoring than a lot of people think.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that as my game of the week.
Interesting. Definitely a sleeper game of the week. But, hey, I think that does it for us, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Pace, you got anything to tell them before we let them go?
Yeah, guys. Once again, thank you for listening and sending us those questions on Twitter. Make sure to hit us up on all that social media. Go ahead to YouTube, search 4th and Goal, and subscribe to us there. You'll catch us broadcasting at 7 p.m. every Thursday without
Follow us
fail.
on Twitter.
Yes, sir, Slade. You're going to follow us on Twitter. That's at 4th and Goal Cast. We tweet often on that account. We answer a lot of questions, do some polls, stuff like that. So definitely check out the Twitter. And for the podcast itself, you're going to go ahead to either Stitcher. Stitcher is a website, also has an app on Apple and Android devices. Just search Fourth and Goal. Follow us there and subscribe for the weekly stuff. And SoundCloud, you can see us there as well for the podcast. And coming soon, we will be on iTunes. We've been talking to Apple, just getting this whole thing approved, but hopefully they get back to us this week. And we'll be on iTunes, which is a really convenient platform. But again, thank you for listening. Thank you for the questions. Thanks for participating, and we will see you next Thursday at 7. Anyone else want to say anything? Otherwise...
Nah, bring your questions, kiddies. Look forward to next week.
I need them questions. But yeah, thank you for listening. Can't thank you guys enough. We appreciate the support. We'll see you next week. We'll be here on time next Thursday at 7 o'clock, bright and early.
All right, peace.